Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the paper talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford as usual, and it's pretty sunny. I've not even got my parker on today. In terms of Manchester United news, it isn't that sunny. You may have saw it last night or seen the news last night that broke that both targets or supposed targets of Manchester United from Real Madrid in Sergio Reguilón, the left back, and rather bizarrely Gareth Bale, who'd suddenly become a target seen as a Jadon Sancho alternative, both them linked heavily with a move to Tottenham Hotspur, and it looked like Tottenham Hotspur had stolen a march on Manchester United, and that's how it looks this morning as well. It looks like neither of those targets are going to be coming here to Old Trafford, and both are going to be heading to Spurs. Now, just before we started recording this, Fabrizio Romano, obviously the Tier 1 guru that he is, who sends everyone into a frenzy when he says those three magic words, here we go, he's tweeted, Tottenham have conceded to Real Madrid both clauses they've asked for: Reguilón, buyback and preemption. Man United, or MUFC as he said, have always refused any clause to bring back the player. It was the main issue. Now, what he's saying, and what the reason that Manchester United weren't that keen on signing Reguilón or willing to go to the limits that Real Madrid wanted, was that Real Madrid wanted this buyback clause. They wanted the option to buy the left back off us if they wanted to. United weren't having any of it. They were saying no. Tottenham, according to Fabrizio Romano, have acquiesced. They've said, okay, we can live with that. So they're willing to do that. They're willing to have that buyback clause, and it looks like that deal is going to be done any minute now, any day now. I mean, it might even be done by the time you watch this video. So Sergio Reguilón, who was linked with United, we know that Real Madrid offered him to United. The fee was believed to be around the €30 million mark. He's going to Spurs. That's almost a done deal. That's practically done. Now, what happened with that was, when that sort of started getting momentum, people were looking at it and people thinking, okay, he's a great player. We know he was at loan at Sevilla last season. He played really well, played well against us. He was La Liga left back of the year as well. So we know he's a great player, but he wasn't deemed a target that we were interested in, we were going for, or a position we were looking to strengthen. It was more a case of Real Madrid had offered him to us, and he was a good player and he was available. Now, I would have loved us to sign him. I think he's a very good left back from what I've seen of him, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. Now, in terms of Gareth Bale, he's been viewed as an alternative to Jadon Sancho. If United can't get Jadon Sancho, then reports were that Gareth Bale was viewed as the next best option, a short-term option, possibly a loan. Real Madrid supposedly or reportedly willing to pay some of his wages, because we know he's on around 600k a week or something silly, and it looks like a good stopgap. I think he's 31 years old, comes in for a season, and then next summer we go for Jadon Sancho. But even that now doesn't look like it's going to happen, because when I first heard the Gareth Bale rumours, we thought that's nonsense. Gareth Bale to Manchester United, what is this, 2013? But then I think it was James Cooper on Monday was saying, said it's not nonsense. That's what he said when he was reporting it. He said that there is real interest there. United are looking at Bale as an option, but looks like Spurs have got in there, because again, there's issues around how that deal's going to go, how much wages you're going to have to pay. Is it a loan move? Is it permanent? Whatnot. Now, in terms of the Reguilón deal, Spurs have also been negotiating with Real Madrid over Bale, and Romano, in his tweet, he actually put a link to his Instagram, and on his Instagram, it also says at the bottom of his post, Tottenham are also working on Gareth Bale deal with Real Madrid. Negotiations started 48 hours ago, more to follow. Now, Bale's agent was speaking last night, and he said Gareth Bale would be willing to go back to Tottenham. He felt that that was a move that the winger or the attacker, whatever you want to call him, was open to. So Bale to Tottenham looks like it could be on. Obviously, that would be a big signing for them, big signing for anyone if we're being honest. But Gareth Bale going back to Tottenham, Jose Mourinho there. I mean, it wouldn't represent a good summer if they brought in. We know they've made a couple of signings already. Well, remains to be seen how effective they're going to be. I know they didn't have the greatest debuts, but we know that he's a good player. Now they've got Reguilón, it looks like they're about to get him anyway. Adding Bale as well, that would mean a really good summer for Spurs, especially when over the last few years they haven't always spent big in the summer. They've had patchy transfer windows at best, and it looks like they mean business this time round and are really going for it. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But it looks like Gareth Bale isn't coming to Manchester United. We know Sergio Reguilón now isn't coming to Manchester United. So where does that leave Jadon Sancho? Because Jadon Sancho has always been the priority. Manchester United heavily linked with Jadon Sancho for the last 2 months, if not longer. The only reason the Bale rumours started doing the rounds were he was linked as an alternative to Jadon Sancho. So United haven't really gone for Bale. They haven't said, okay, do you know what, we're going for him. So that makes you think that there's a possibility we still fancy our chances of getting Jadon Sancho. We know obviously time is running out. The transfer window shuts on the 5th of October, so we don't have loads of time left. Is it 3 weeks or even a little bit less? if we're going to get that deal done. We know that the problem with that deal isn't Jadon Sancho. He's willing to come. We've heard over the past few weeks, if not longer, that agents' fees, the player terms, all that has been agreed. He's happy to come to Manchester United. The problem is the fee. Dortmund want £108 million. Manchester United are willing to pay that, but only in instalments. Apparently £90 million up front, another £18 million as incentives. I know you've probably heard me say this before, but that's where we're at. We're at this impasse. I keep using that word because it's where we're at, or stalemate, whatever you want to call it. And unless Manchester United, it looks like unless Manchester United pay the full £108 million before the transfer deadline, obviously, we're not going to get him. Dortmund are digging their heels in. And all the reports, the latest reports, say similar things. They say that, Dortmund aren't going to budge. And Manchester United need to pay up that fee, get my words out, pay up that fee up front if we're going to have any chance of getting him. So it's not over, this deal. Most people now are beginning to think it's looking less and less likely. But maybe, and I might be being overly optimistic here, we can take a little bit of comfort from the fact that Manchester United haven't gone for Bale, properly gone for him, because they still fancy the chances of getting Jadon Sancho. That Jadon Sancho is still viewed as a priority, and that deal is still a possibility, because if it wasn't, then maybe United would have said, okay, we're not getting Jadon Sancho, we need to go all out for Bale. We've heard little reports about the sort of Sancho story and where that's at over the last few days. There isn't much movement there. I think recently the reports on, I think this is in Sky, that Borussia Dortmund manager Lucien Favre expects Sancho to increase his value by improving his game this season before Manchester United return to the market for the England forward. I think that was a quote from the Daily Telegraph that was doing the rounds yesterday. I mean, there's a lot of talk that maybe Manchester United will go in for Jadon Sancho next summer. There was a lot of anger yesterday on social media when we saw that the Reguilón deal was falling apart, or not falling apart, he was going to Spurs, that Gareth Bale was going to Spurs. I think there was less anger over the Bale move than there was the Reguilón one, to be honest with you, because it had looked like Sergio Reguilón was coming here and he was a player that most fans, rightly so, were excited about. But now it looks he's not. And a lot of fans were angry about that. We saw that Woodward out, Glazers out, hashtags. There's a feeling that the club isn't doing enough in the transfer market. We've seen the amount the owners are taking out of the club, the lack of investment. I think Swiss Ramble had it. We've had the least amount of investment from any owners of any Premier League clubs over the last 5 years, and that just isn't good enough. And we need to see this squad being strengthened, and Jadon Sancho would massively improve this squad. But we can't just say, oh, we tried to get Jadon Sancho, it didn't happen, so we're not going to get anyone else. It's not good enough, so we'll have to wait and see. There's, as I said earlier, time's running out. Not much movement on the Jadon Sancho front, and if they're not going to get Gareth Bale, we're not going to get Jadon Sancho, then we need to get someone. Another story that's doing the rounds, and I will mention this, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it was doing the rounds this morning in a couple of the papers, and I think this came from Duncan Castle's podcast, is about Kylian Mbappe. Now, before you all start shouting and commenting, we're not getting Mbappe, I'm not saying we are. I'm saying what was being reported was that he's obviously going to leave PSG next season, and that one club he would be open to coming to is Manchester United. Apparently, if he did come to England, the two clubs that he fancies are Liverpool or Manchester United. You could argue, the two biggest clubs in England. I think, obviously, Manchester United are the biggest, but Liverpool, the second biggest, if you will. He'd be keen to come here, or he'd be open to coming here. There's other clubs that are in for him. I think Barcelona are looking at him, Real Madrid. Obviously, loads of clubs are going to be linked with Kylian Mbappe. And could United afford him? Could we bring him here? Would we be willing to pay his fee, his wages? It's highly unlikely, but that was a story that was doing the rounds, that if he is available next summer, which we know he is, and if United could get some sort of deal in place, he will be open to the idea of coming here to Old Trafford. We would love to see Kylian Mbappe playing for Manchester United Football Club, but I'm highly doubtful it's going to happen. The main player I want to see playing here is Jadon Sancho, and at the moment, we're still at stalemate, we're still at this impasse. Manchester United aren't getting anywhere that deal, it seems, but it's not dead in the water just yet. We're not going for Gareth Bale. Looks like he's heading to Spurs. We're not getting Sergio Reguilón. Looks like he's going to Spurs as well. Thiago Alcantara, another one that's been doing the rounds, looks like he's heading to Liverpool. So Jadon Sancho or bust was what we said on the transfers live last night, and that's how it's beginning to look. We know we're linked with other players, Douglas Costa, Ivan Perisic, but the main priority remains Jadon Sancho. And as of yet, we've not given up hope yet. So we'll have to see what happens. As always, we'll keep you updated whether there's any movement, whether Jadon Sancho, when we do hear that there's been an improved offer from Manchester United. We've been speaking to journalists over in Germany since this saga began, because it is a saga. We spoke to Patrick Berger, not the ex-Liverpool player, but the journalist who writes for Sport 1. We spoke to Florian Plettenberg, who also writes for Sport 1. Both of them said they didn't think the deal was going to happen. For the Tier 1 transfer podcast that's coming up later, We're going to be speaking to the main man in Germany. If you know who I'm on about, you'll know who I'm on about. We'll be speaking to him, getting him to give us the lowdown on what he thinks is going to happen, not just with Jadon Sancho, but with our other targets in Germany as well, because we have been linked with, as I said earlier, Thiago Alcantara and one or two others that may or may not happen, the likes of Upamecano, for example, over at Leipzig. So we'll wait and see whether Manchester United are going to do any business. But at the moment, it's not no news is good news, it's no news is bad news. We need to wait and see, and hopefully we'll have some better news ahead when we have Transfer Live later on this evening. I've been Jay, outside Old Trafford for Stretford Paddock. It's beginning to get a little bit sunnier, even if it's not getting sunnier for Manchester United. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.